So welcome back to 7 Questions with NTG. I have a very, very special guest tonight, very near and dear to my heart. Okay, this brother is so talented and just blessed by God. His gift is truly a blessing from God. So I'm just honored to have Nkrumah Jennings on my show tonight. And he is a jeweler, but much more. So I want to let you kind of let everybody know what you do, because you do more than just jewelry, but by trade, you definitely make some of the dopest jewelry I've ever seen in my life. I'm actually wearing some of these beautiful adornments tonight. So let everybody know who you are and kind of a little bit of your story, where you started.
So thank you, Natalie. My name is Nkrumah Sekou Jennings. So I was raised in the East Coast, born in New York, raised in Plainfield, New Jersey. I came into the jewelry business in around 1999. March will be my 25th year anniversary, and we'll get into that a little bit later, obviously. But that anniversary is also marked by the conception of my child, because that actually caused me to decide to make it as a career. I had only started learning it about a month before she was conceived,
Okay.
and so I had something else that was what's what I'm looking for. That was I didn't have any other real strong foundation career-wise, so I said, well, I guess this is it. And that's actually her. I don't know if you all can see it, but she's the logo of my company now. She's now 24, and that's how I know when the anniversaries come up, the 10-year, 15-year.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really pay attention to it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, you've been doing it so long, after a while, it's kind of like, it's part of who you are,
Yes, indeed.
But what a beautiful reason, what a beautiful inspiration to start into this jewelry journey and creating this art, because really it's art. It really
Yes,
is. Now, your jewelry, it has medicinal properties, like it actually has healing properties to it too. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, so I'm actually a metal artist, which you kind of alluded to, and so the primary focus is on jewelry.
Yes.
But I actually I'm just good with my hands. So I make all things out of metal. I've made plaques. I embellish furniture, as you can see in the back here. This table, I actually made this table. It's made out of wood. It's a glass table. Wow. With the embellishments on the table. Okay. I also work with a company called Sacred Spaces. We make thrones and spiritual items, sacred items for people to use for special things. Um, and but yeah, the primary focus is jewelry. The sacred space thing is kind of self-explanatory as far as what you asked me. Spiritual purposes, furniture and stuff like that. Also as far as sacred spaces, things that are like timeless pieces. I'm kind of losing words right now, but like things that are not historical, but like cultural pieces.
Yes.
Things that people wouldn't just use for furniture, but things that are like more for whatever culture they're dealing with, and we make those things for them. And in the jewelry itself, metal. So I work with metal in precious and semi-precious stones, and all those things have healing properties. Gold, silver, copper, all have healing properties. Silver is the silver is the driver of the market of all metals, because silver is used in all industry. And the reason why it's used in all industry is because it has antiseptic qualities. So in the medical field, it's used in everything, especially like with dentists when they're drilling in your mouth and using things to operate the surgical procedures on you, whatever like that. They use silver because it's a metal and it's completely an antiseptic. And then it has other qualities as far as its vibration. And a lot of people don't. People think so. You know, just real quick. People think that that I'm getting deep when I explain this part of it, as far as
Okay.
the vibration of the metal. But they forget that in science class, you're taught that
Mm.
all matter is vibrating energy.
Yeah.
So then when I tell them this part, then they realize that I'm not being deep. So like on the periodic table, the number I think it's at the top left corner. That number represents the vibration of the metal.
Wow.
So, you know, when you talk about like the neutrons and electrons and all that stuff
Yeah.
and how it's
Yeah.
going around or whatever and combining it to make the matter, this matter is vibrating energy.
Mhm.
So, one misconception people have is that copper is the most healing of all metals, and it's actually not true. Copper works very fast, so it
Okay.
oxidizes fast, and
Mhm.
that is symptomatic of how it works. But if you look at the number of copper, which, if I'm not mistaken, is Cu24, and
Mhm.
then silver is AG57, and then gold is, I don't have the numbers and the letters perfectly correct, but the gold number is like 87 or something like that. So
Okay.
gold has the highest number, so that represents the vibration of the metal right there on the periodic table. And then stones also have their, you know, their quality. Most people know about crystals and stones, and they all have their different
Yeah.
qualities.
So that's, I mean, it's a I think it's an important message. Some people might say it's deep, but it's good to know that it's more than just jewelry. Like it actually has some properties that help you. You know, it's other than just looking good, because of course everybody wants to look good and they want to, you know, feel good. And obviously, when you put the jewelry on and the different pieces that you make, you feel good. I feel good with my earrings on right now. You know, when you put on these earrings, you got to put on some lipstick to go with it because
Well,
it
you know,
feel that
one
way.
thing that people always say to me is that, and I mean, I hear this consistently. Almost every client that comes about my stuff says that it has good energy.
Yes. Yes.
And so that is intentional.
Yes.
That is intentional. I have a certain way that I work, a certain integrity in my work, and it comes out in the jewelry. So I'm always glad to hear that because it is very intentional. And I have actually known metal artists to make things, and they get the opposite reaction. And
Mm.
I know that those people don't have good energy. So you can't just make stuff. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You can. You
You
know what I
can't,
mean?
but
You go. You know.
right. Right. Exactly.
And one last thing is that wealthy people understand this.
Mm.
So the whole jewelry thing and the metal thing, going back to ancient times, always started out with this understanding. Everything had, in all industry, including clothing, things always started out from a cultural basis. And
Yeah.
then over time, things became more like fashion as the people with power began to separate themselves from the rest of the populace. It wasn't always like that. You know,
Right.
like a king in ancient times, like in ancient Africa, he
Mm.
was one with people. He was the guardian of the people. And in
Right.
today's times, it's not like that
Mm.
separation. So the information became separate. So that's why in people's heads, what we're saying now is deep. It's not. So even to this day, wealthy people like for example, the whole ritual of giving your daughter a pair of gold earrings. And I
Okay.
have customers that say, I have a section on my website for baby bracelets made
Mm.
out of sterling silver or gold. Well, that custom started from giving your child something to adorn themselves with that will also mark wealth. It will stamp wealth in their life for the long haul. It's like your first piece you're giving them is to establish energy of wealth with them.
Wow.
That's where all yeah.
So the work that you do and your passion, it has a lot to do, or is it, would you say the foundation is based upon spirit and culture?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I can tell. I can tell. And like you said, making people feel good and they can feel the energy from it is important. You know, that is very, very important.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
you are extremely humble, down to earth, brother, but you have worked with and had your jewelry worn by some, you know, different people. Talk about some of the people that have purchased your jewelry and that have been interested in your work. Like people that you work with.
The interesting thing about my work and my journey in it is that that side of it is not deliberate. So most of the time when people have work on celebrities, it's like it's deliberate. It's like, there's a photo shoot
Yeah.
and they'll get a call, and usually what the stylist does, they're calling like a bunch of people to
Mm-hmm.
bring their stuff to a photo shoot. So say like if it's for example Janet Jackson. If you
Yes.
go to the photo shoot, you see different tables with multiple people's clothing, multiple people's jewelry, and so on and so forth. And then they pick out of those stashes, and sometimes your stuff doesn't make it on the artist. They're
Right.
just picking randomly little bits for people to shoot.
Sure.
Whereas with me, through the grace of the Most High, I've just had the blessing of they come to me.
Yes.
And in my travels, whether when I was selling on the streets of New York,
Mm-hmm.
or I actually had a good relationships even to this day with musicians, especially in New York, Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, places I've been where I was selling my work. I've always had this connection with musicians, and then
Okay.
they would take me with them to shows and have me set up in the VIP rooms and sell my stuff and show people whatever like that. But
Right.
then even like in the case of like Mary J. Blige, she just saw me on the street selling my stuff and just walked up on me and bought some earrings.
Mm.
I might have knew Rihanna, and they introduced my work to her, and I sold a bunch of stuff to her. And she actually
Wow.
wore, anybody that wants to see it, she wore a pair in the Rude Boy video that she did, which actually is what my daughter's wearing, but she wore the ones that I made in sterling silver.
Okay.
Um, and she bought about 10 pairs of pieces or
Mm.
whatever like that. And then sometimes people just know a stylist for Roberta Flack will call me and say, "Yo, I'm gonna bless her with some earrings or whatever,
Right.
and can you make these for her or whatever?" And then Roberta actually called me on the phone when she got the earrings, which was like
Wow.
a kind of kind of blew me away, because that's one of my
Yeah.
favorite artists. I've
Yeah.
actually sold to almost all of my favorite artists. It's
Mm.
a real. I can't explain how that happened, but
Yeah.
somehow through the years, I've met almost all the people that I like, that I really
Wow.
like. I've actually met them,
Mm.
and they've come and bought my work.
That's a beautiful thing. Wow. And that's what I was saying. Like you're humble, but you have done, I mean, you're a heavy hitter. You are a heavy hitter in the industry. And you gotta get your flowers now because it's gonna be a time when it's just gonna continue. I mean, your work is all over the world. Literally all over the world. And I know you travel a lot too. You know what I mean? But just so people can know, the and even it can go further than that, but just so they know who you've worked with and what you have going on. What do you feel like, because I know you travel all around too, and you have traveled all around, what do you feel like was your best experience since you've been traveling around different parts of the world?
My best experience was how all this happened because I was actually traveling. So at the time, I was a community activist in Birmingham, Alabama. I
Okay.
was working with a youth program called the Camp Musical Scouts,
Okay.
and I was working in the Malcolm X Center in Birmingham
Mm-hmm.
with Baba Ahmed Obafemi and Sanovi Muhammad. Rest in peace, Baba Ahmed. He passed just last year.
Mm-hmm.
And So I met a sister, and she was on a journey retracing the transatlantic slave trade. So they basically were going backwards the way we came,
Mm-hmm.
and they were stopping at different historical sites where different things happened, some atrocities, some things that were good. And when she came to Birmingham, because of my work that I was doing at the time with the community,
Yes.
they had me get with her group and meet her. I hadn't met her at another function a year ago, a
Mm-hmm.
year before that. And excuse me, I was told she was coming with a group and that I had met her, and they wanted me to reintroduce myself to her in the group, and then show them around. And then me and her actually got close. And
Mm-hmm.
to make a long story short, she is my daughter's mother, right? So I just jumped right to that. But she kept traveling. She stayed with me for a while, and she kept traveling. She ended up in Puerto Rico after they went to the Caribbean. They stopped in Haiti and Cuba and all those places. And they get to Puerto Rico, and she asked me to meet her down there. We
Mm-hmm.
got down there, and I'm this real short version. because I know we don't have a whole lot of time. Real short version.
Okay.
For those that want more information, they can go to my bio on my website, and it's all in there.
You know, we're gonna blast that all up.
And so there was a split, and this trip was actually documented on a program called African American Spirituality in the Americas, and she was actually the filmmaker for the trip, and the company was called Black Side Entertainment, and it was airing on PBS for a number of years. I don't know if it still is, but I think you can Google it, and it might come up.
Okay.
And in that program, you're going to see me and her because they cover a part where we had a split from the group. So it's a group of 40 people, 7 of us split from the group.
Okay.
And for ideological differences. And so we also were split from the funding of the group because of that. So now we're kind of stranded in Puerto Rico trying to figure out how we're going to get to the next destination, which was Caracas, Venezuela. And so we were having these meetings, right? And we were meeting in some of us were staying in a shelter. And so we were meeting, it's like we were stranded for like 7 days. And so we were meeting in the cafeteria of the shelter. And there was a guy in there by the name of Shamba. And Shamba was talking, and he said, I heard you need, because I didn't have anything. I wasn't on the trip originally, so I didn't have a plane ticket to Caracas. I had no interest in going to Caracas when it came to Puerto Rico. She convinced me to keep going with her. So I didn't have a passport, plane ticket, or anything. And so he overheard, the money issue thing and the passport. He said, so basically, he had a cafeteria table full of jewelry from one end to the other end. And he was living in a shelter, right? And he says, I can show you how to make money. He said, I've made a lot of money in Puerto Rico. And he said that he made so much money that he would only work 7 times a year, and he would spend the other 5 months of the year. He worked 7 months out of the year, and the other 5 months he would travel around the world with the money he made. He said, I could show you how to get out of here in 30 days. So he showed me how to make it. It wasn't what I have back here. It was like gemstones on fishing wire. He showed me how to make it, and he told me to go to the cruise ships and sell it at nighttime where they wouldn't bother me about having a license or a permit at nighttime. And I did that, and it didn't take a month. Within 2 weeks, we actually rented a car. We had made so much money that they had a passport office down there that did the expedited passports in Puerto Rico. And so I got a passport within 2 days. I got my plane ticket. And then we actually made enough money where we actually rented a car and drove around the island for a couple of days. And then in that drive, he told me that she was pregnant. And then so actually it wasn't a month. It was it's the first time I'm realizing it's telling this story. For the first time in 25 years, I'm realizing that it wasn't a month. It was 2 weeks that I decided to do it. I had been making 2 weeks. And then that's when I decided, I guess, because I didn't want my child to see me working for anybody. Before I met her mother, that was always a goal of mine, that any child I had, by the time I had children, I would have my own business and they would be with me and, seeing me work. I didn't want them seeing me working for there's no disrespect to anybody that works a job or whatever. Feeding your family is cool. That was just my particular thing. I was raised with. My father had his own business, my uncles, my cousins. That's just what I saw for my life. So that's what I wanted to see. So that was my most, for obvious reasons, and all my journeys, the beginning of this, nothing really matches that. That was we spent a year, I think it was like maybe 14 to 15 months traveling from Puerto Rico to Caracas, Venezuela. And this is like traveling by foot, hitchhiking and stuff like that. That was the nature of the journey. We were traveling where we came. And so we're on foot, and now she's pregnant. We're traveling like that. And we ended up in Bahia. And that was the last stop. And then we came back because we decided to go all the way to Africa. And that's a whole nother story. So we came back and to Birmingham, Alabama at the time,
Wow. Yeah, that is quite a story, and I'm sure it's more to it. I know you kind of condensed it for us. But it sounds like God's work to me. Sounds like God's work to me all the way. from the start of it.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
somebody saying I could come and show you how to make money. That's nothing but you got to be highly favored. God was on your side and on your side, and that's a beautiful, that's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
That really is, and it's beautiful to be able to travel and have those journeys like that. Some people don't get to travel and see different parts of the world and experience things like that. So, I mean, that's definitely a blessing. I'm gonna hit you with some word associations. So don't think about it, right? I'm just gonna say some words and just say the first thing that comes to your mind. All right. So music.
Music.
Yep.
DMX.
DMX. Oh, all right. Okay.
Love. Love.
Love.
My daughter.
Oh. Spirit.
African spirituality.
Money.
Money. Currency.
Okay. And then home.
Home is where I lay my head.
Can't beat that. Can't beat that at all. So what's your top three? So if you ever saw the movie, everybody saw The Best Man. Sure. I'm sure you saw it too, right? So his top three was God, family, and football. What would be your top three for your life?
Family. Top three in my life.
Yep.
God, family, and health and wealth. I kind of put those in the same
together.
Yeah.
They collaborating.
Yeah.
All right. I get you. So knowing that you travel and you have a lot of things going on, let us know what's going on. Like what events do you have coming up? Where can people check out your work? What do we have coming up that we can look forward to?
So there is a major event coming up in April on the 12th. And actually it's going to be on the 13th. We're going to be in Raleigh for the whole weekend.
Nice.
The 13th is going to be a fashion show.
Okay.
But this is not going to be an ordinary fashion show. Mm-hmm. This is only going to be my second fashion show, believe it or not.
Okay.
But this fashion show is a powder keg of multiple institutions coming together. One of the main ones, the main one actually is Miss Black Jeans.
Yes.
So I have been blessed to come into contact with this group of people. The two founders being Jeff Weaver and his wife, Genevia Weaver.
Yes.
And they have an organization where they're linking the Africans throughout the diaspora. All right. And they're doing this starting with our aesthetic. So if you had three people in the room that were Black, and one was from Nigeria, the other one was Jamaican, and the other one was from Chicago,
right,
you wouldn't know if they started talking.
Right.
And in some cases, you wouldn't know even then because there's Jamaicans that have moved here that are like second generation that don't have the accent anymore.
True that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or people that moved to Africa from here, like my friends are doing now, their children that have accents from Africa, but they're from here.
Right.
But you're not going to know. So a lot of us believe that we're separate. You go to Labor Day parade in New York, and everybody's got their flag. Guinea, Jamaica, Ghana, whatever. Everybody's got their flag.
Right.
And everybody believes that they're separate according to those flags, which represents their territories that they come from. But we're all the same. We're all Black. You know what I mean? And so Miss Black Jeans is establishing that understanding and that identity, right? By connecting women, young women,
yes,
from the globe, and focusing on them presenting themselves in their natural state.
Right.
Natural hair, natural skin, natural, just in who they are. And in our walk, in our talk, even if it's a different language, like we all have the same rhythm, we all vibe the same way. And a lot of times, if you go to people's homes from different countries, a lot of times you feel like you're at home because you find out that there's a lot of similarities in how
Right.
they eat and stuff like that. You know, so Miss Black Jeans, I'm working with them because, well, you know, for that reason, but also they have a collection of sisters, so they're going to be like the models, right? They're
Awesome.
going to be the
Okay.
models, and we're doing it in a shop that is owned by Lillian, and she's from Tanzania. I don't want to pronounce her last name because I'm gonna mess it up. She's from Tanzania.
Okay.
I met Lillian when I was living in North Carolina. I was living in Durham. When I was living in Oxford, North Carolina, about a half hour from Durham, and I was doing business with two shops in
Mm,
Durham. One was named Zatik,
okay.
Lola over famine.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, Lola Aduni,
Okay.
and she owns a Zatik on Main Street in Durham. Great business I do with her. Great people. And then Lillian, who
Okay.
owns Nishana Incorporated, and her
Mm-hmm.
shop is in Raleigh. So we've already been talking to her about connecting. So basically, all her she makes first of all she makes the baddest African dresses on the planet, and I've
Oh,
been around as you
okay.
can
All
say, been all over the place, and I've seen any kind of fashion or anything you want to see. I've seen it. Her stuff is crazy. All right, it's
Y'all
the
would go
most.
hand in hand with the jewelry and the dresses. I mean, we
Well, she's been buying my work since I met her.
yeah.
I met her 8 years ago. Almost it might actually be close to, yeah, about 8 years. And she saw me. We were both doing business for a store called Ngozi's Design Boutique, and we were in there doing business. And she saw my work, and she started buying it right away. She had a small shop at the time in I think Goldsboro is the name of the town,
Okay.
and she's putting it there. So her company, her dresses are made in Tanzania. She basically supports the economy in Tanzania. She's from a small village there,
Okay.
and so she pays seamstresses to make her clothes there, and she buys her fabrics from there, and she hires models, photographers, and everything. And so her company actually is a big part of the economy there.
Hmm.
And so we've already been talking to her about connecting Tanzania to hear,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
she's great people. She's very down with it. She understands what we're doing,
Yeah.
and so that's why this event that's coming up, like my business, yes, it's 25th anniversary, but really this part of it is way bigger than that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm actually like kind of taking a back seat and
Yeah.
allowing that to proceed, and she's doing the same thing with her company. Like that is preceding us as individuals. Now we're in a umbrella. We're in
Yeah.
a much larger house.
Sure. For
We're
sure.
all coming and combining into this event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's gonna be very nice. We've been practicing this week and putting things together,
Okay.
and the way it's developing, like I'm not, how can I say, like, I'm not developing it. It's being developed by the character of what I'm talking about. So the
Hmm.
different ideas that we're coming up with and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that that is making the event what it is. So it's gonna have flavor. Like if I sat here and try to organize it and, well, let's do this or let's do that, it wouldn't have as much flavor as what's taking place.
Hmm.
It's about to be a very powerful situation. Very nice.
The vision of it, I can picture it in my head, and it's a beautiful vision just from what I'm seeing in my mind's eye. I'm seeing the models with the jewelry, with the dresses, and they're proud of their own skin. They're comfortable. They're wearing their natural hair, embracing who they are. That's something that little Black girls need to see. They need to see that, and that needs to be represented so that they know that there's something else.
Yes, and this is Alexis. She is the current queen
Miss
of
Black
Miss Black
Jeans.
Queen.
Yes, Miss Black Jeans. And exactly, the picture says it right there. Natural hair, and she's working it. She is working it in the in the picture too. So
And so she's going to be one of the models there.
yeah.
And she got a team of sisters that she works with. They're going to be there. And Lillian's going to provide. She's going to have some people that work with her that are going to be there. And yeah, it's going to be
that's
a
gonna
great,
be beautiful.
very,
Drop that
very
date again for us, so just so everybody can hear it again. What's the date going to be?
April the 13th is the day of the show.
Okay. And we're going to make sure too that we blast it all out everywhere so that everybody can definitely come out and support, because it's going to be a much needed and beautiful event. I'm just excited. I'm excited for the event. You know, I'll be there. So I'm excited that that's coming.
And one last thing I want to say is that another significant thing about this event is that it is actually it's a real blessing for me to be able to be connected to this group, because it represents everything I've been working for from since the beginning.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've never focused on making money. Like when I sit down and make jewelry, I don't think how much money I'm gonna make.
Right.
That part I know is gonna be there. Like that's always been easy. You know what I mean? But helping us to reconnect as people, helping us to become more empowered as people. Like my daughter's seeing me work now. She owns a business, and now she's in school for culinary arts. She can have her own business in cooking and stuff like that. And she's been actually selling when she was in high school. She was selling her pastries on campus and selling to the teachers and stuff like that. All that from watching me work.
Wow.
So doing this is actually, it's a real humbling, and it's very much a blessing because it represents all that I work for.
Yeah.
Being connected with this institution, and that's why it's very easy for me just to fall back and allow that to sit in front of me and be the driving force behind what we're doing.
And that's beautiful too. See, that's why I say you're a very humble, down to earth brother. But you know, at the same time, you're a powerhouse too. So I definitely want to give you your flowers too. You know what I mean? Because people don't do it. People don't recognize the talent and the ability and the spirit. Your spirit is clean. Your spirit is has good energy. So that's something that, you know, has to be definitely recognized. We got about 5 minutes left. So I want to give you, I always ask, what's the craziest thing you've ever done? Now you can answer that however you want, but what's the craziest thing? I know you had some stories, but and like a little short story of the craziest thing you've ever done.
The craziest thing I've ever done. There's so many things. I mean, I hate to sound redundant, but it probably is that trip.
Oh yeah, how about that? How about that? Yeah,
because
and it turned out great though, right?
I mean, I
Yeah,
didn't have any money, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I had no plans on going anywhere past Puerto Rico,
Right.
and then I'm traveling with a pregnant woman, my wife at the time,
Right, right.
and, with no money again,
Yeah.
and we're like hitchhiking, and you know, we traveled all the way from one country. We went across the Amazon for 5 days. We were on a boat, a small boat, going across the Amazon, and you know, and I learned actually that's when it transitioned from the fishing wire and gemstones into metal. Because while I was on the boat, there was some native people on the boat, like some South American Indians, and they started showing me techniques of working with the metal at the time.
Okay.
And then that, like a little bit at a time, transition into the metal. And then when I got home, maybe 2 years after I got back to the States, I went full blast to the metal and threw away the fishing wire. But yeah, that was the craziest thing. Like,
yeah, you're
because
right. That's the story.
yeah, the U.S. Embassy actually had to send us home because we didn't have any money to get home. So we figured out how to connect with them, and they gave us the tickets and some cash. And we met Tony Browder down there at the end of it. And he was with a group called Kaba, and they were doing like a tour of South America, and they saw us, and then they connected with us, and then they actually raised money for us as well.
Wow.
And I saw his daughter for the first time. She wrote that book, My Trip to Africa, my first trip to Africa. His daughter, people might know about that book. Time she was like 7 when she wrote it. I met her at like 20 years old, or however old she was, a couple of years ago in DC for the first time. And so that was it. That was definitely, that was insane. I couldn't see myself doing it like that.
I don't know. That's hard to top. That is quite a trip right there. We're running out of time here, but I mean, it happens like that when you're having such a good. The interview is more like a conversation. So when it flows like that, sometimes it's like it's hard to pay attention to the time. But I want you to go ahead and give you whatever shout out you want to give, and then of course let everybody know where they can follow you and where they can give you shout outs and the follow information.
Okay. It's Instagram, Anu Designs by Nkrumah. You can you take my business name and run it through all the platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and then TikTok and my website.
Yep.
And if you want to join the newsletter, you can email me at info@anudesignsbynkrumah.com.
Okay.
Or if you can inbox me, DM me on any one of those platforms, and it's good to be on the newsletter. That's more concentrated way of staying connected with us.
Sure.
The website is anudesignsbynkrumah.com. Shout outs. Shout out to my mom.
Okay.
Shout out to my family.
Yep.
All those that are currently supporting me and giving me advice all the time, and always in the cheering section, cheering me along.
Absolutely.
Life ain't always easy, but when you get down a little bit, there's those people that
lift
provide
you up.
you a little.
Yeah.
So definitely shout out to all those.
Yeah.
Freedom Williams.
Okay.
My brother Freedom, and Jeff Weaver, Mama Genavia, Alexis Fulton, Miss Black Jeans.
Yes.
Sanea Reed.
Yep.
Yeah. Fuller.
And the list goes on and on, right? Listen, this was great. I really enjoyed having you on. We got to have you back because we got more to talk about. Definitely. So I want to thank you again for coming on my platform. It means a lot. My brother, I definitely appreciate you. And, again, your talent is out of this world. It's definitely a gift from God. So I know that things will continue.
One more shout out. One quick shout out. Richmond Night Market, ran by Melody Short and Chantel. Adrian Chanel.
Okay.
And the sisters that they have down there, Lenise and Sinice, the twins. I do a lot of business in Richmond. Shout out to them. I love them dearly, and I hope they get to see this. And if you're ever in Richmond, if you can catch the designers market on Saturdays or Sundays throughout the summertime and the spring, definitely check it out. It's a collection of some of the greatest artists, and they do very good work. Yeah.
All right. And I think that wraps it up. 7 questions with NTG, Anu Designs by Nkrumah. It's a wrap.
Every day I move this way,